You find 3 records from 3 different years. One says you reported back pain. Another shows where you were assigned and what your duties involved. A third from a civilian clinic says the pain kept coming back. None of those records tells the whole story, but together they may help you ask much better questions. That is exactly why military records can be useful and easy to misunderstand.
Welcome to the Veteran Benefits Reset Podcast, where we help veterans and their families better understand the VA disability benefits process one step at a time. I'm your host, Cameron Burrell, a U.S. Army veteran and founder of VetBiz Media. Today, we're talking about 2 important record groups, service treatment records and personnel records. We'll look at what they may contain, what they may not answer, and how to organize them before you speak with an accredited professional. Here is the idea I want you to keep with you. Your records are not a verdict and a folder. They are a map. They help separate documented facts, personal recollection, and questions that still need answers.
This is an independent educational resource. It is not legal or medical advice, and it does not replace guidance from a VA-accredited veteran service organization, claims agent, or attorney. Every veteran's service, records, medical history, and circumstances are different. Procedures and requirements can change, so verify current information through official VA resources. Think of today's episode as preparation for a better conversation, not as an answer to an individual claim. Veteran to veteran, the goal is simple: facts over frustration and education before action.
Let's begin with service treatment records. A service treatment record is not just a hospital record. It might be a sick call note, an entrance or separation examination, a physical profile, a referral, a medication entry, or a short follow-up note. Sometimes the entry is only a few lines long. That does not make it meaningless, and it does not make it conclusive. Start with 3 questions. What was reported? What was observed or treated? And was there a follow-up? You may also see abbreviations, shorthand, or older medical language that is unfamiliar. Do not feel pressure to interpret every term before you organize the document.
Read the entry with its neighbors. Look at the date. Look at who created it. Notice whether it was an examination, a complaint, treatment, or an administrative form. Does the note mention an earlier event? Does a later record mention follow-up? A medical record may document a symptom, an injury, treatment, or an examination finding. It may not answer every question about cause, continuity, current severity, or the effect on daily life. Those questions can require additional evidence and individualized professional guidance. The safest habit is to describe what the record says before deciding what you think it means.
Now, where do personnel records fit? A question I hear is, if my personnel record does not mention a diagnosis, is it useless? No, it may provide service context. Personnel records can include your military occupational specialty, duty assignments, station or deployment history, orders, evaluations, separation documents, and other administrative information. They may help place you in a particular job, unit, location, or period of service. That context can matter when you are building a timeline, but context is not the same as a medical opinion. A job title by itself does not establish a diagnosis, and an assignment by itself does not establish the cause of a current disability.
The same careful approach applies to performance records. A change in duties, attendance, evaluations, or performance may be worth placing on the timeline, especially if it lines up with other documentation, but it should not automatically be treated as a medical conclusion. A disciplinary record may show that an administrative event occurred. It does not by itself explain a person's health, intent, diagnosis, or eligibility for benefits. Ask what the document actually says, what it leaves unanswered, and whether another source can add context. That is the difference between organizing evidence and making assumptions.
Here is a fictional example for education, not a prediction about anyone's claim. Suppose a vehicle mechanic served from 2007 to 2011. In 2009, a clinic note mentions low back pain.
A personnel record places that mechanic in a maintenance unit during that period. The separation paperwork is available, but it does not answer every question. In 2016, a civilian provider records recurring back symptoms. Notice what we have: a service event or symptom, service context, a separation point, and later medical information. Notice what we do not have: one magic document that explains everything. The responsible question is not, does this guarantee an outcome? It is, what is documented at each point, and what still needs verification? Put that example on one page. Write the date, or an approximate period. Then write the event or symptom, the record connected to it, and one follow-up question. For the mechanic, the first line might say, 2009, low back pain reported at a military clinic. Clinic note located. Question about whether there was a referral or later visit. Another line might say, 2007 to 2011, maintenance assignment. Personnel record located. Question about exact duty dates. A later line could say, 2016, recurring symptoms documented by a civilian provider. Medical record located. Question about how the provider recorded the history.
Use neutral words such as documented, reported, located, and question. Be careful with words such as proven, guaranteed, or caused unless a qualified professional has explained how those conclusions are supported. Your timeline is not a legal brief. It is a clarity tool. It helps you see where memory and documentation agree, where they differ, and where there may be a gap. Your records are a map, not a verdict. That idea becomes especially important when the map has missing pieces.
Missing records are common enough that you should plan for uncertainty without assuming the worst. A document may be stored under a different name, held by another facility, transferred between systems, or connected to a different period of service. Name changes can affect a search. Reserve and National Guard service may involve records tied to different types of duty or different custodians. One collection may not contain every period of your military or medical history. A missing document does not automatically end the conversation, and it does not automatically prove the opposite conclusion. Write down what is missing, what you know about its date and location, and what source might have it.
When you speak with a VA-accredited VSO, claims agent, or attorney, bring specific questions. You might ask, which type of record am I looking at? What does this document actually establish? What remains unanswered? Are there records from another unit, facility, service period, or agency that should be checked? If a record cannot be located, how should I document the search? And what current official resource should I use to verify the procedure? You do not need to wait until your file is perfect. Bring what you have, identify what is missing, and separate your recollection from the document itself.
Once you know what you are looking at, here is an easy way to keep the papers from becoming a pile again. Create 3 folders, physical or digital. The first is service, personnel records, orders, assignments, separation documents, and other records describing your military history. The second is medical, service treatment records, examinations, profiles, referrals, and treatment information. The third is post-service, civilian medical records, employment information that may describe changes in functioning, and other relevant documents. The folder names are not magic. Use a different system if it works better. The important thing is that you can find the document again.
Then make a one-page index. Use 4 columns: date, source, subject, and follow-up question. The date can be exact, or it can say approximately 2009 or during summer training. The source might be a military clinic, personnel file, civilian provider, employer, or official agency. Keep the subject short: back complaint, maintenance assignment, separation examination, or later treatment. The last column is the most useful. It turns a document into a next question. Do you need to find a related visit? Confirm whether a file is complete. Ask an accredited representative how this record fits with the rest of the timeline.
Before you interpret anything, preserve the document. Keep the original paper or save the original digital file. If you scan a page, make sure the date and source are visible. Use a consistent file name, such as year,
source, and subject. Then place it in the appropriate folder and add it to the index. Organize, verify, execute. In this context, execute does not mean rush into a claim or predict an outcome. It means take the next responsible action based on information you have checked.
A few mistakes are easy to avoid. Do not search only for dramatic events and overlook routine entries that show a pattern. Do not treat a personnel record as a medical opinion or a medical note as an automatic explanation for every later problem. Do not search one source and assume that no result means no record exists anywhere. And do not wait for a perfect file before asking a qualified professional a question. Start with 5 records. Add them to your index. Let the questions guide the next search.
If you are reviewing an older VA decision, this same method can make the file easier to discuss. Note which evidence the decision mentions and which evidence it says is missing or insufficient. Compare that language with your index. Then write questions instead of assumptions. What did the decision consider? What should I verify? What document or explanation do I need to discuss with an accredited representative? This is not a prediction about a future review. It is a way to turn a large file into a focused conversation. Let's bring it together. Service treatment records may document medical complaints, examinations, treatment, referrals, or restrictions during service. Personnel records may provide context about duties, assignments, locations, performance, and separation. Post-service records may describe later treatment and changes over time. Each record has a role, but no single document guarantees service connection, a disability rating, compensation, or approval. The complete facts and applicable rules matter, and those rules can change. Verify current information through official VA resources and seek individualized guidance from a VA-accredited VSO, claims agent, or attorney when appropriate. Before the next episode, choose 5 records, create your 3 folders, and write 4 things beside each record: the date, the source, the subject, and 1 follow-up question. Stop there. You do not need to interpret your entire file today. 1 step, 1 record, 1 mission. Stay organized, stay informed, stay ready. Thanks for listening to the Veteran Benefits Reset podcast. I hope today's episode gave you a clearer way to understand military records and 1 practical action you can take toward getting organized. Remember, this podcast is an independent educational resource. It is not legal or medical advice, and it does not replace guidance from a VA-accredited veteran service organization, claims agent, or attorney. Every veteran's service, medical history, and claim are unique, so verify current information through official VA resources and work with accredited professionals when appropriate. If you found this episode helpful, follow the podcast, leave a review, and share it with another veteran, family member, or caregiver who could benefit. Download the free 7-step Veteran Benefits Reset Guide at vetbizmedia.com/veteran7. It can help you organize your military, medical, employment, and VA records before taking your next responsible step. Thank you for listening to the Veteran Benefits Reset podcast. Your service did not expire. Your story is still worth reviewing. Take the next responsible step.